The mess hall buzzed with noise, trays clattering, chairs scraping, the dull hum of hundreds of recruits swapping stories over lukewarm meals. It was noon, and the air was thick with the smell of sweat, steel, and burnt coffee. At a corner table, away from the chaos, sat a woman who didn't quite fit the rhythm of the room. Her posture was perfect, her movements precise, every motion economical, a quiet control that didn't match the restless energy of the others. Her name tag read, Harper, J. She ate silently, eyes down, spoon moving with the steady calm of someone who'd long ago learned to ignore noise. But silence, in a place full of young men desperate to prove themselves, was often mistaken for weakness. Across the room, 5 recruits watched her, check her out. One snorted, leaning back in his chair. Sits alone every day, thinks she's better than us, yeah. Another chuckled, flicking a pea across the table. Heard she came from logistics or something. Probably never fired a gun in her life. The youngest of them, a wiry kid with too much bravado and too little sense, grinned. Let's go find out. The others laughed, the kind of laugh that comes before trouble. They got up, pushing through the tables, drawing attention as they approached her. The room began to quiet. No one liked to miss a good show. Harper didn't look up until a tray slammed down across from her. One of them leaned in, smirking. Hey, sweetheart, this seat taken. Her eyes lifted, calm, steady, unreadable. It is now. A few chuckles rippled through the crowd gathering at the edges. Another recruit tilted his head. You think you're too good to sit with the rest of us. I think, she said evenly, I'm just trying to eat. He smirked. That's not how this works, sweetheart. Around here you earn respect. You don't just. Before he finished, Harper set down her spoon. Slowly, deliberately, her gaze sharpened, and something in the air shifted, subtle but electric. The same recruit laughed nervously. Oh, she's got a temper. What you gonna do, logistics girl? Throw your spoon at me. The crowd snickered. Someone whispered, oh, this'll be good. Harper stood, not fast, not dramatic, just rose, her eyes level with theirs. 5 men, all bigger, louder, and suddenly a little less sure. She spoke softly, almost kindly. You don't want to do this. Do what? One of them sneered. Talk to you. No. Her tone was steady, controlled. Regret it? The first man laughed and reached for her shoulder, and in the blink of an eye, he was on the floor. No one saw how she moved. 1 second he was grinning, the next he was gasping, arm twisted behind him, face pressed to the cold tile. The room went dead silent. The second recruit lunged. Harper sidestepped, hooked his knee, and sent him sprawling across the table with a dull thud. A bowl of soup crashed to the floor beside him. The third came faster, swinging wildly. She blocked, pivoted, and drove her elbow into his ribs. The sound, that sharp crack, made a few people flinch. He crumpled, breathless. The fourth froze halfway through his charge. Harper turned to him slowly, eyes calm. You sure you want to keep going? He hesitated, then, stupidly, tried to swing anyway. She caught his wrist midair, twisted, and used his own momentum to throw him flat on his back, 4 down. The fifth, the youngest, stood trembling, fists half raised. Who the hell are you? He stammered. Harper looked at him for a long moment, then said quietly, Sit down. He hesitated, then dropped his fists and sank onto the bench, staring at his fallen friends. All around, recruits stood in stunned silence. Then a voice cut through the air, low, commanding, at ease. Every head turned. Standing in the doorway was Commander Reeves, head of training operations. His uniform was crisp, his expression unreadable. He walked forward slowly, his boots echoing on the floor. What's going on here? He asked, his tone cold as steel. No one answered. The 4 recruits on the ground groaned, trying to collect themselves. Reeves' eyes shifted to Harper, calm, composed, standing with hands at her sides. "Harper," he said, "explain." She didn't speak right away. Then, evenly, "They cornered me, sir." Reeves nodded once, then looked at the recruits. "Is that true?" They avoided his gaze. Shame and fear tangled on their faces. Reeves exhaled through his nose. "You boys think this is a playground. You think you can pick on your fellow recruits and get away with it." He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You don't even know who you were messing with." One of them muttered, "She's just what?" Reeves snapped. "You think she's some logistics officer." He turned to Harper. "Permission to speak freely, Lieutenant." The room collectively froze. Lieutenant Harper gave a small nod. "Permission granted, sir." Reeves turned back to the recruits. "You idiots just tried to start a fight with a Navy SEAL." The silence that followed was so heavy it was almost painful. One of the recruits whispered, "You're kidding." Reeves barked, "Do I look like I'm joking?" He faced Harper again, tone softening. "Lieutenant Harper here was attached to SEAL Team 9. Multiple tours, 2 commendations for valor, and she's here because she volunteered to help train you." The 5 recruits looked pale, humiliated. Harper didn't gloat. She just stood there, silent, calm, like a storm that had already passed. Reeves stepped forward. "Lieutenant, you handled yourself appropriately. Report to my office after chow." She nodded. "Yes, sir." As she turned to leave, she paused beside the 5th recruit, the young one who'd hesitated. He looked up at her, guilt heavy in his eyes. She said quietly, "You're better than this. Make sure they are too." Then she walked out. The mess hall stayed silent until the door closed behind her. Then, slowly, the murmurs began: disbelief, awe, respect. Later that evening, footage from the security cameras made its way around the base. No one knew who leaked it, but by midnight, it was everywhere. 5 men on the floor, 1 woman standing tall, unshaken. The clip ended with her words, calm and measured, "You don't want to do this." It became a saying around the barracks. A warning, a lesson. Weeks later, during final drills, those same recruits stood at attention as Harper briefed the platoon. Her voice was steady, her tone firm, but behind it was something the men now understood deeply: respect. And when the commander walked by, he smiled faintly. "Looks like they learned their lesson, Lieutenant." She returned the smile, barely. "Sometimes, sir, you have to teach with silence." Because that day in the mess hall, Harper didn't just prove her strength. She reminded every soldier on that base that discipline wasn't about dominance. It was about control. And long after she left the room, her words still echoed in their minds. Real power isn't loud. It's quiet, and it never has to prove itself twice.